different in the afterlife than a person who dies from natural means. They have to face the consequence of their actions. They may have to come to terms with what they've done, which may take a long time. They may have to spend a lot of time in an astral hospital-type area. Structured areas where people sort of sleep. It's not really a hospital. It's just an area where people go and they sort of rest. And they often relive parts of their lives until they understand it. But basically that person would, you could say, they've blown a test in this life, failed to learn something, and they'd probably have to relive it again.
Have you in astral travel seen such areas?
Yes, I have. I've been into them several times. Yeah, I've visited friends who've died and things like that. Yeah, yes, very, very interesting areas. They have a structure to them that appears to be like a hospital, but the people you see around, the doctors and nurses, are not real doctors and nurses. You're talking about a very subjective realm here. I see beneath that like a metaphysical, spiritual area where people go to rest and to come to terms with their life. And when they've done that, they move on into one of the spirit worlds.
How many different areas in astral travel are you personally aware of? Areas that, and I know you're an expert in astral travel, how many areas are you aware of? In other words, I guess I'm asking you about the nature of the other side, or at least as much of it as you understand.
Well, the traditional view of the astral plane's been broken up into several major levels, and then each of those with multiple levels beneath them seems fairly accurate for my explorations of it, especially if you look at the surface skins. Have you got a copy of my book handy?
I do not. I'm sorry to say. I would like to have a copy of your book, though, very much.
Okay, Delaney's got 4 copies, I said.
I see. All right.
Anyway, if you look at the back cover, I had an artist take out of my mind what the 6th astral plane, as quite a high-level plane, actually looks like, the surface skin of it. If you imagine an infinite space covered with intersecting grid lines, making an infinite number of squares, and each square contains a pattern. In the center is, imagine it's like, this is all blue, deep blue. And in the center of there's, like floating, there is a pattern, which is like a huge lotus flower, a 4-petal gold flower with like a violet-colored jewel in the center, and some other little bits, but that's basically what it is, repeated over and over again. Now that's a basic astral plane level. Now if you penetrate that, you're in OBE state, you dive down and penetrate that, doesn't matter, wherever you penetrate the astral plane skin will take you to a particular area inside of it. It is an amazing phenomenon, and it's quite repeatable.
Well, can you describe any of those areas?
I've done so in my book, a few of them. The astral hospital area is one which I just spoke about.
Yes.
Yeah, there are also different realms and some structured areas. Some places are very wild and desolate. These are like huge, they're like worlds, universes. And travelling amongst them is very confusing. I remember one I wrote off in my book there. I came down into it after crossing through the surface skin, and I came into a world where I was up in the clouds looking down on an ocean. There was islands and land around, and there were these beautiful strange-looking ships sailing with peculiar-looking people on them, and all sorts of things like that. It's just really weird. I plan to attempt to map them one day in the future, which will take years and a number of projectors to do it.
Do you believe that we are meant to understand this much of the nature of what we call the other side?
I think so, yes. I think it's a part of man's natural evolution, spiritual, intellectual evolution, to understand these things. Out-of-body experience, for example, is a very natural thing that everybody does every night.
Yes.
They're just not aware of it. Normally a person just floats out of their body, and I've seen project, I've gone through people's houses and that, and I've seen people sleep in bed and floating above their body a couple of feet away as their projected double, mimicking the sleeping position. That's what most people do.
And again, you suggest that there's a mind split effect, that there is one essential copy of you, the original, we could think of it that way, I suppose, correct me if I'm wrong, and then a sort of a duplicate you that's able to travel outside the body in what we call an OBE.
Yes, and this is actually provable if you have the skills. If you examine a lot of case histories on out-of-body experience, you'll frequently come across people saying they're having symptoms of duality and bilocation, where they're aware of themselves being in their bedroom, the clock ticking on the wall, the dog snoring, but they're also aware of themselves being somewhere else.
Right.
But all authors today have continued the empty body theory, which started 100-odd years ago with early authors like Muldoon, where he considered that the actual spirit, your soul, your mind, left your body, and your body was left empty, an empty shell.
Yes.
And he considered that because your physical body is still alive, your ears were still working, and therefore you would still hear things in the room around you. But you have to look deeper to understand the nature of that, and I discovered the mind split effect during some deep trance energy work I was doing, where I am sitting in a chair in the evening, and I'm raising a lot of energy. I'm in a full delta level trance or deeper. I'm very, very stable in a very non-dual state, you could say. And I feel the out-of-body experience, projection mechanism, I call it, kicking in. I get full body vibrations, rapid heartbeat.
Oh, yes.
And I feel a projection occur, but then it stops. And a lot of people experience this. They feel the symptoms, and then it stops. And I'm still in my chair, and I'm still meditating and doing things. And actually, at the time, I was turning around inside my skin, using the etheric body to move around inside my physical body. And I was experimenting with astral sight, where you can see through closed eyelids.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. We're at the bottom of the hour. Actually, the devil has made a very recent trip to Georgia. Robert Bruce's book, his one coming up, is Practical Psychic Self-Defense. So we'll get into that aspect of it. In other words, what you can do if you're under psychic attack of some sort, what you can do to protect yourself, what you can do to stop whatever it is that's after you. That is, if you believe in these sorts of things, and I know many of you don't. Many of the rest of you know damn well it's true. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back. A map of what other dimensions are like, where people reside who leave this life, where others troll, so to speak, without sure would be an interesting item to have and to contemplate what it's like on the other side. That would be a worthy project, I would think, Robert, trying to map the other side.
Yes, or at least to map the astral planes, which is an enormous area with many, many different levels.
Are the astral planes actually, in fact, where people go when they die, or is it just sort of one stopping off point on the journey after they pass?
It's just one point. There are areas, as I said, astral hospital, rest type areas, but most people move on into one of the spirit worlds. There's several levels of spirit worlds, and I've been to some of them and met people, deceased relatives and that of the past, friends that have died. And, with these awake-induced high-level projections, they take quite a bit of energy and skill to get into them.
Just taking one moment to do this. My audience is probably bored with it. I've had one OBE in my life. It occurred in Paris. I was on vacation in Paris, France, in bed next to my wife, and in just one instant, I shot straight up out of the bed, and I was up above Paris. I was aware that I was way up above the city of Paris, and to where I could just see a lot of France, and I had this overwhelming, I can't even describe it, this joyous, all-knowing but pure joy, and some word that's beyond joy, and instantly I went right back into my body. I was so shaken up by the experience?